Hello, everyone. My name is Vladimir Ortega, and I'm a pre-post sales engineer for EPCOM. We're going to start our training today. That is basically our express training regarding the basic configuration of Reyee networks. That includes the gateway, the switch, and access point. So I'm really glad to be here to teach this webinar today, this training. Let's give some minutes to see if somebody else is going to join, and we can start soon. Thanks. Okay, we have given a couple of minutes, so I think that we can start. I will put here, just 1 second. Okay, I will put here a QR scan code that if you can have like a demo project in order to follow all the configurations with me, you can do it today. You don't need the physical equipment at your side. So in order to achieve this, we're going to go to the Google Play Store or the App Store in Apple, and then we can find the Reyee app. So please download the Reyee app. Just register with your personal email or your corporate email. You are going to have 30 days in order to validate this account. But you don't need to do that today. Just register with your account, and as soon as you register, you can scan this QR code, and you will have this awesome demo project with several devices and let's say gateways, routers, switches, access point. You can explore all, let's say, a demo topology that is going to be displayed on your phone or your mobile device, and you can follow the configurations with me. So I will give you like a couple of minutes more in order to do this, and we can start with the part one. Okay, awesome, guys. I think that you have registered the application and scanned the QR code, so I think that we can start. Yes. So let's begin with the part number one, or well, the agenda that we have to today. The part number one is going to be the introduction. We're going to talk a little bit about the network infrastructure. How do we create a project? What is the cloud, the Reyee cloud that is going to help us to achieve great success regarding everything that is involved in the configurations, correct? We're going to then move forward to the part number two, that we're going to explain everything related to the devices, the router, the switch, the access point. And finally, the part number three, that we're going to explain the key features, most of the key features that the brand can offer today for you guys. Everything related to the captive portal, how we can block some applications, we are going to have some kind of the flow, how do we share projects, how do we can achieve like something that we call it not transversal, and the report creation. So let's start first with the part number one. We're going to talk about the network infrastructure. Here I have the a backpack, something that we call a backpack, that is some kind of a little rack that is made of basically but a easy gateway, one switch, that is our easy switch, and two access points. So I'm going to share my iPad so you can follow me all the configurations procedure uh, based on the mobile part, right? So let me just open here Android. Okay. So as you can see here, this is my iPad. And what I'm going to do is just to create this project from scratch, right? So basically, what I'm going to do is just to go into the configurations, and I will see here that we have like a SSID that is being propagated. It's called Reyee. It's made of some kind of letters from the physical or the MAC address. So I'm going to connect to this SSID, and then I'm going to move forward with the application. This is my application. Maybe you're going to see the same on your side. What we need to do is just to add a project, and we're going to create a project connecting to the SSID. We're already connected, and we're going to click here, Start. It is connected to SSID that is being propagated, and you are going to see how easy is to basically recognize all the topology on your infrastructure, right? So as you see here in my presentation, yeah, like I mentioned before, we have an easy gateway, an easy switch, and two access points. It is the same that I'm seeing here on my iPad. I will click here on Start Configuration. Let's say that we're going to give like a project name, correct? So let's call it demo project. That is going to be our name for this specific project. I'm going to assign a password for this project. Yeah, it's a password just for demo purposes. And I'm going to click here a scenario. What this means? The scenario basically is going to give us or provide us more options than other ones. So if I been in an office, I will have most of the options that I will have on the cloud infrastructure or in the project, right? But if I live in a villa or home or maybe in another, I will see other options that are not going to be displayed on an office. So basically, I'm going to select here office for today because we're office. We're going to have most of the key features of the brand, and I'm going to click here next. Our gateways have an important feature that is the multi-WAN connection. So basically, if you have several ports, you can do some kind of load balancing, talking about the internet or the ISP connections. In this case, it's asking me if I want to configure dual ISP links. I have like a 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, maybe I can have one or two or three ISPs on site. We can discuss this later, but for this demonstration today, what we're going to do basically is just to have with just one single ISP. As you can see here, if you receive your connection based on a static IP address, you can create it here. If you receive your connection with a VLAN, you can also specify the VLAN here if the packet is tagged. And also it's compatible with the PPOE protocol. But for today, we're going just to use the HCP. So we're going to click here on next. I'm working remotely, so I live in Colombia. I need to be compliant with all the radio communication organizations here, the public organization from the government. So I'm going just to select Colombia, but if you live in another country, you can search your country and just put it there. I will leave the Smart Connect enabled. Basically, what it does is just to combine the 2.4 gig and 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz frequency or band. So it's going to combine it, and it will let that decision basically to the router, to the gateway in this case. So it's going to be transparent for the user. You don't need to do any more DAC selection or having two SSIDs, one the conventional way and the other one just with a suffix saying, hey, this is the 5G connection. That doesn't matter. We're going here to put an assigned SSID name. Let's call it demo. We can call it demo AppCom. I'm going here to encrypt my SSID. So I'm going to use basically the same password just for demo purposes today. It was the same password that I assigned to the project, but you can create another one. It's fully customizable. So we click here on save, and what it's going to do next is just to deliver all the configuration to our devices. In the past, this took like too much time because maybe you need to have like an access console to the devices, and it was some kind of a mess, but and a headache for sure. But in this day, as you can see here, I'm doing this from my iPad, my personal iPad. I can also do it from the Reyee cloud, but it's delivering first the Wi-Fi configuration, then it's configuring the devices, and at the end the network. And there you go. We have our SSID configured, we have our password, we have all the devices configured. So what I'm going to do is just to copy this password, and we're going to connect to this SSID that we just created. Let's paste the password here, join. There we go. So as soon as you are connected on site to that project, directly through that SSID, it is expecting the topology. And here we go. You can start a speed test from here. It will test your ISP connection, but we're going to click here on next. And we have the same topology. So now we have several options that we can configure from here. We have basically three tabs: the basic, the advanced, and the scenario. On basic, you will have everything related to the Wi-Fi configuration. If you need to add another device in the future, you have a monitor module. You can update or upgrade the device, the firmware devices, the devices firmware from here. You can share the project. You can run some kind of AI diagnostics. You can do some kind of report and also check if you have an alarms configured on the project. In advance, this is divided in basically in wireless, gateway and switches, and network wide. You will have several options here from wireless optimization, radio settings, AP mesh, up to flow app and control, DHCP snooping, SNMP, A02.1x, that is the radio functions. You can also create a captive portal from here, really easy and really fast. No the complicated configurations that we need to achieve in the bus in order to deploy a captive portal. And if you want to change your scenario, you can also change it from the start, right? You can see the network planning, you can create users, you can also have the ability to deploy some NAT transversal tunnel in order to access devices, internal devices through internet, even if you don't have like a static public IP address. That is really interesting. We also have this tab that is called clients, which clients are connected in here, and also a network where we are going to see, or as the days go by, everything related to the behavior, right? How's the user experience? Is it showing no data because this is a new project, so no data is gathered to yet. But we can also check the outbound rate trend and all the statistics that you can have basically on the mobile app. So going back, what we're going to do is just to continue, but I'm going to do all the configurations or the rest of the configurations mainly from the Reyee cloud. So I'm going to show you how you can do that. So just give me a second. Okay, you are seeing the correct screen. There we go. So I have here my Epcon account, and we're going to log in into the portal. It is really important where you are located. As you can see here in the URL, it says cloud-LA, but depending on where you are, with region, maybe you can access your tenant to another region cloud. Sorry, to another cloud region. Reyee is hosted on GCP, so we're fully compliant with everything related to the security. We have several regions in GCP. Since I'm based in Colombia, I'm accessing to the Reyee cloud region based in LA. But if you are living in US, you just need to change this to US. And there you go. If you are living in US, this is an automatic process. If you're living in Asia or maybe in Europe, AU, you can, it's going to do it for you. It's automatically. You don't need to change something. But if you have another tenant or another, let's say, account created in another region, in another cloud region, you just need to change it and just log in with your credentials. But today, since I'm living in LA, this is the way that you need to do it in order to access. So as you can see here, the project that we just created, demo project, is in there. I just want to mention that all the features that I just showed you from my iPad, you can also access it from the Reyee Cloud. Even in the Reyee Cloud, you have more features than your mobile application. It's not that a sense that it's restricted or limited. You have like tons of features that you can do from your Android or from your iPhone. Even if you have like a Huawei device, we have an application on the Huawei store. But if you want to achieve or get the most of these of the key features of the brand, I would recommend you to do all the configurations from the Reyee Cloud. If you're some kind of integrator or system integrator deployment, it's really easy to do all the deployment and configuration. But if you want to achieve like a complex scenarios, maybe it's recommended to do it from the cloud. So this is the dashboard initially, as you can see here. And I mentioned before, I have my gateway here, my easy switch, the 2 access point. This is a wall access point, pretty convenient for the small offices. If you have like a VoIP phone, it can provide power over Ethernet to this VoIP phone. So we have PoE delivery. You're not going to lose the capability with one single cable. And we have this ceiling access points that all of this equipment is indoor. We have also outdoor equipment that I'm going to show all the portfolio and the devices that we currently have or manage in several markets. But yes, going back to the configurations, if I click here on devices, you are going to see all the devices that are on my project, correct? So this is really important, the same configuration. If you click here, you're going to see which configurations are being delivered or were synchronized to the device. So I'm checking here my wall access point, and it's really nice because you can also have some kind of detail, right? Let's say talking about the RF power, is showing that the channel is in auto, the power is in auto, the device name, the configuration was fetch to the device, so this will succeed. So you can have some kind of timestamp when what is happening in the backend, right? You can also manually deliver all the configurations. As you were saying before, this was still synchronizing, but it's synchronized right now. You can still click here and manually deliver all the configurations to your access point and gateway. So our switches is still syncing. I think, okay, it says AP mesh Wi-Fi setting. It's still syncing this, synchronizing this tab or this configuration. So most of the configurations are being seen or already seen. So some of them are left, but let's give a couple of signs. From this tab, it's really easy to do an upgrade from the devices. Yes. So basically, if you click here and it doesn't say latest, maybe there's like a new version, you click here on upgrade, and you can also select which firmware version do you want to go. So it's really nice to do it. On the past, maybe you will need to run a lot of firmware and just log in via web, or maybe use like um, a TFTP server, but that was in the back old days. Nowadays, it's really easy because it's you can achieve this through the cloud. So it doesn't matter if you're traveling or you're providing remote support to your final customer, right? You can do this from the mobile application. You just fire up your Reyee Ready app application in your Android or iPhone phone, and you can select update, and you can run an update or schedule an upgrade for all the devices at the same time. So it's pretty convenient, right? Just to have this feature, and it's automatically achieved by the cloud. Something that I need to also mention is that since this is like an SMB brand, it's for small and medium businesses and home Wi-Fi, we don't have in this line like a console access line, like a terminal access. We don't have that. All of these devices are managed via HTTP or HTTPS protocol, basically, or through the cloud. So, but if we miss that, let's say, that kind of terminal with all the configurations, and you can display the running configuration of the devices, don't worry, because we have like a web CLI. So if I click here, let's say that I'm going to run it on my gateway, or let's say on the or my easy switch. Sorry, it's going to do it on my easy my gateway. I can still run some kind of terminal access, right? So you will have information about what is happening with the router, what is running at this point. You can check the loads, you can check the current mode, how this gateway is working, and you can also check your current time. You have several options here that you can check on the later, right? So maybe talking about the connectivity, the interface IP, the ERP, the DNS, the route, all of this configuration can be queried to the device itself remotely. So yeah, it's really convenient if you need to do some kind of like advanced troubleshooting, right? Just to see what is happening at a terminal, uh, let's say, scenario. So moving forward, let's say that we need to check the access point, or maybe do we need to check the gateway? As you saw here, we have fully synchronized our gateway. But if you want to check it, we can always click on the serial number, and it's going to access to the gateway, right? So all the information is being displayed in here, the serial number, the model that we have, what is the management IP address, how much is the utilization, yeah, what is the mode, because this is working in a router mode. We have also access controllers as well. And it is divided basically in two tabs or two size configuration, the monitoring and the configuration. Talking first about the monitoring, we have here in this dashboard some kind of overview that is showing us all the ports, the WAN ports, the LAN port, the sessions that we have, how many clients do we have connected in this device, how much is the load. This gateway can provide PoE delivery. So if you have like a camera connected over there, we're going to see how much is the PoE load on this device. We can also check the traffic usage by client. We have some kind of charts talking about the client summary, speed summary, CPU, memory summary, session summary, all the ports with their corresponding IP address, the negotiation rate, etc. So this is the overview, but as you can see here, we also have an egress traffic trend. As soon as or as the days go by, this data is going to be gathered automatically by our gateway, and you can visualize this data through the Reyee cloud, right? You can also check the application traffic statistics. We need to enable it in order to check how much is the statistics of each application. You can also see the detailed entries. This is some kind of ARP list. So you can see it here on the through the GUI, basically to the graphical user interface. We're also going to see the leasing of the HCP, the routing table. If we want to have deployed, or if we have deployed the IPv6 on our network infrastructure, we can also check here all the entries. And finally, the logs. We can check the logs if the device goes offline or goes off. If we upgraded the device from one firmware version to another. We can check also the configuration logs with their corresponding timestamp and what was the final status, if it was succeeded or not succeeded, if it fails, and a little description of what was achieved. So you can check this through the times. You can specify here a time frame. So this is pretty convenient because for an SMB brand, we're having here some kind of corporate features or key features from our main brand. The brand that we're working today is this one that I'm selected here on the that is called Reyee. Reyee means redefine your easy network. Basically, it's our SMB brand and home Wi-Fi, and we have our corporate brand that is Reyee. I'm going to show you that later, but we're talking just today about our Reyee devices, the SMB devices. Moving forward, if we click here on configuration, now we can do some kind of steps to configure directly into the device. Remember that we are still on the cloud. We can access the device locally, and we can access the device some kind of locally through the cloud as well. So I'm going to explain that to you later, but some features you can achieve it from here. So I can select here the ports and just specify they're going to be access or tron. I can put VLANs over here. I can create VLANs. I can do some kind of routing, even PVRs, policy-based routing. This is something that is really helpful if you want to segregate some kind of traffic based on the region request, right? We can create ACLs basically to control the traffic or the access traffic to another to some destinations. We can do some kind of binding. We can even define zones here if they are secure or not. We can specify the HCP options. We can do some kind of URL routing as well. We have IPv6. We even have a fully free DDNS. We don't need any kind of license for this brand. This is something that it's worth to mention. Reyee and Reyee doesn't need any license. It's lifetime free. So as soon as you buy your device, you don't need to do an overpay or upfront paid in order to buy licenses to put this thing to work. No, you don't need that anymore. And also with the system here in this tab, you can back up or download your system configuration. This is not mandatory, in even sometimes it's not fully necessary because all the configuration is stored on the cloud. So as soon as you connect on board or disonboard devices on the project, they are going to be fully synchronized. So maybe this is like a good practice. It came from the old days, and just to do some kind of configurations and maybe restore a configuration from a local file, right? But we can do it. We still have the options to do it. Moving forward, like I mentioned a moment ago, we can still access the devices through the cloud, like if we were on site. So in order to achieve this, we have the eWeb tunnel. So I'm going to create an eWeb tunnel just for this gateway. And I will say that this tunnel is going to expire 1 hour. This is the lifetime that we're going to assign to this tunnel, the permission. So we create this tunnel, it's creating the tunnel configuration. Notice that you don't need like an IP address or some kind of NATing or routing configuration. It's being doing automatically from the Reyee cloud. So it creates like a temporary domain, and you can use it. You can even share it. But as you can see here, is this dashboard is kind of different from the other one because now I'm logged into a device. But as you notice, I didn't put any IP address or public IP address. I'm not accessing through the one port of the gateway. It's been doing just through the cloud. So if we click here on gateway, we are seeing all the project. Sorry, let me just go back so you can see the topology. It was the same model here. We are seeing the access point. Even I'm seeing here that I'm connected. This is my iPad that is connected to my project, but I'm seeing here my easy gateway. I'm seeing here my easy switch, the two Reyee access point, and everything is full display. You can even run configurations here. Something that is worth to mention before we advance into the early configurations is that as you saw before in the mobile application, they were fully recognized, and that was really fast. How this was achieved? Well, basically because we have a protocol that is called SON, the Self-Organizing Network Protocol. It's a layer 2 protocol that basically discovers all the devices that are coexisting in a network infrastructure, but just for the brand. It's not that if you connect another vendor, it's going to recognize it. No, it's just for Reyee and Reyee. But it's really nice because as you see here, I didn't have to configure any trunks, or I didn't have to assign access or trunk points, even create VLANs. Everything was recognized by the infrastructure in the cloud, right? So this was achieved thanks to the SON protocol. So thanks to a protocol, we have how can I explain this? We have some kind of master device, and we have some kind of prioritization, something that is worth to mention, and you need to know if you're going to work with the vendor and if that with this brand. And it's basically that there are priorities, right? If I have a network that is made up of access point switches and gateways, the gateway it will always be the master device. So it's going the master controller of the network. If I don't have a gateway, but I have a couple access point and a switch, or maybe 5 access point, this access point can also work in a router mode. So they can do routing, they can create captive portals, even if you don't have like an easy gateway. But the master in that case is going to be one of those access points. And if I only have a network or a project made of switches, because this is just like an interconnection infrastructure and I don't need wireless access, and the router is being made and another border router or another router device from another vendor, or maybe it is located on a Linux or Windows server, one of the switches is going to be the master device. So thanks to that philosophy, basically we can configure anything on our network from the master controller. But for me in this case, this is like a little setup. It's the backpack that I have here. The gateway is my master device here today on my topology. So just going back into this interface, this front end interface, this is now the local configuration of the gateway. So as you can see here, we can configure some dual line if we have another one connection, and I can specify it here if we were receiving a second ISP from a DHCP address, DHCP IP address, or maybe from a static IP address, PPOE protocol, even is supported. And we can specify here the load setting. So maybe, as you see here, the load mode, we have the balance mode, and we also have the primary and secondary. So basically, this is the main mode, the load balancing. And the second mode is the active secondary, some kind of failover. So I will recommend just to leave it here. Well, that depends on the configuration of the scenario that you are deploying. Uh, and also the load balancing policy, how it's going to balance the connections. So you can do it based on the connections. You can assign some kind of way per ISP. And also we can specify the way based on the source ISP address and also on the source and destination. But most of the time, the default is smart load balancing. So you can assign here the one rate for the ISP1 and the one rate for the ISP2, and it's going to, let's say, do some calculations in the back end just to see which channel we're going to use. If we're going to use the one number one or the one number two. And in the other mode, the active and secondary, we also have still the same policy, the low and bad policy. But basically, what you're going to do is just to assign what is the priority, right? So let's say that my first one connection is more reliable than the second connection. So, well, I can assign the one as the primary interface and the one number two as the secondary interface. If something fails, um, the router or the gateway, it will do automatically a failover in the backend. So your traffic is not going to be disrupted. This is something that occurs automatically. You don't need to do anything. As soon as set up, it's going to work. And for you or for your clients, this is going to be transparent. All the traffic is going to be routed into the second connection. Maybe some sessions are going to be reestablished, but this is going to work and it's really fast. And well, I'm going to disable this here because we don't have like a second one interface. But if we have it, the other one is just to have like a line probe. What this means? Well, basically the gateway is constantly monitoring the internet access in each one. So this is pretty convenient because if I have, let's say, a third one ISP, I can put here an IP address and even a domain, and it's going to check to ping first the IP address, and it's going to check the domain. You can specify the probe intervals, the timeout, the number of consecutive probe successes, and also the probe rounds for going offline, right? After two doesn't respond, so that connection went down, and it's going to do the failover just to route the existing connection to the one that is active at that moment. So it's really nice to have this on a gateway, a tiny gateway of 5 ports that has like a really a good competitive price in the market. So these these key features, or let's say these key corporate features, we're bringing to our devices for the home Wi-Fi and SMB products. But like I mentioned today, we're going just to use the single line. We can also create VLANs in here. This is the manual way, like it would achieve in the past. The IP address, the mask, the VLANs. We can also put there a remark, and we can also enable a DHCP server for that VLAN. We also can check the DHCP clients, the leasing, the same thing that I just showed you in the Google Cloud. It is the same. You can just do it from the easy gateway and also specify the DHCP option. DHCP protocol have a site there that talks about the options. They are really important if you have like a VoIP phones, or maybe you have printers or some kind of parameters that need to be delivered through the DHCP when some new device is being connected into or is being joined into the network. This is maybe not commonly used in literal scenarios, but in corporate scenarios, you can find this kind of configuration. We can also enable the IPv6 address. Remember that I talked or spoke that we have like a PoE delivered from this tiny gateway. The budget is 54 watts for this tiny gateway, so we can turn on a couple of cameras. I mentioned that we can also do the tagging or tagging traffic on those ports if you created VLANs there. We can also have the IPTV as well. We can check the port information, what is connected, what is the negotiation rate, all these kind of statistics and error counters and conflicts. You can even check it from here. Talking about security, we have the ERP list just to see all the devices that are connected there. We can also bind it to a specific IP address. We can do some kind of MAC filtering. We can create some kind of safe zones or security zones. Well, we have even some kind of anti DDoS attacks and anti malformed packet attacks, even ICMP packet management or anti-session attacks. This is more like from the security side. This is not a fully firewall, but at least you have these basic kind of attacks being managed by your easy gateway. So you can configure this at the end of the day, and you can put this thing up and running, right, to be more secure on the network. We also have the security log. From this side, we can check the website management, the flow control. We can create users, or we can have access lists. We can also deploy VPN, something that we're going to see later. And also in the advanced, we can do some kind of routing, PPO servers, dynamic DNS. Well, even we have a diagnostic mode. Really important if we want just to diagnose if we can reach a route on the internet, etc. We have also network tools. We can even do a packet capture, something that maybe it was brought from the firewall side. Not all the gateways on the internet, not all the vendors on the internet allowed to do a packet capture of your network. And going back or moving forward to the system, we can back up the configuration. We can do an upgrade here. We can check the cloud region where we are connected. If we move the gateway to another region, we can even change it. And we can also do a factory reset from here, from the local device, and we can also reboot the device. But this is like a fast, let's say, overview of the gateway itself, the local configuration set. But we're going to do most of the configuration going back from the cloud. So everything that I have mentioned, you can find it here on device configuration, where it says gateway, right? So we're checking interface, routing, NAT. So most of the configurations can be managed from the cloud, correct? Just to show you how easy to deploy something in here, I'm going to show you a model that we call it AI network. We have AI diagnostic. It's divided in two. The first is smart config, and second is the AI diagnostics. So just going first into the smart configuration, what I'm going to do is just to create, let's say that I need to deploy a guest SSID, and for that purpose, I need to create VLANs and just tagging ports and all that things that we run it in the past. So nowadays, it's really easy to do with our run. As you can see here, we have the VLAN number one, we have our SSID, but let's suppose that I want to create a wireless VLAN, right, for the SSID. It's really easy. So it's asking me first for the SSID name. So let's call it demo appcon guest. I will call it in that name. And let's say that I can put here a password. Let's say that I'm going to use the same one for the project. Okay, we can select the kind of encryption. I'm just going to leave it WPA2 pre-shared key, but we also support WPA3 in most of the models. And this is going to be propagated in the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz band. So I'm going to select here, click next, and it's asking me for some kind of remark. So I'm going to put it here, guest network, and I'm going to assign VLAN number 500. So It's just recommending me some kind of IP address or subnet 192.168.244.1/24. So it's some kind of default, and we're going to enable the DHCP pool for that subnet, correct? So I'm going to click here on next. And it's saying to me that it's going to deploy the VLAN in the access point and in the easy gateway. I think that we need to check something in the switch regarding the switch. Let's just click here on apply configuration. Okay, there we go. It's asking me if we will have, or if we plan to connect more access point or more access point in the project, so we can plan it and just connect it at the end of the day, and the configuration is going to be replicated, but I'm not going to do that right now, right? I don't have any more access point. So as you can see in here, the guest network was deployed into the switches and into the access point and into the gateway. So let me just show you if I can connect to that network. So just 1 second. Okay. I'm going to open again my iPad, and as you can see here, I have here the demo outcome. Since I'm using the same password, okay, I need to write it down. We click here to join, and there we go. We're connected to the network. So I am connected to the guest network, and I will have full accessibility, right, to the internet. Let's do some kind of speed test in here. There we go. It's working. We have internet access. So just going back, do you see that it was like really easy to deploy an SSID and just create another VLAN, separate VLAN? And it was really nice to do it, right? In the past, you need to go into this, let's say, steps or this process, that what kind of software, I don't know how to call it, but you need to assign VLANs and to tag ports and create trunk ports and just propagate the VLAN there, then configure trunk or access points in the access switches in order to connect the access point, and the access point you need to tag the internal port of the access point in order to receive that kind of tag traffic, right? Just to all of this in order just to deploy like a guest network with an SSID. It's really easy to do it this way. And we also have the AI diagnostic. Let's say that something is going wrong. You can always use our AI diagnostic model. This is something really nice because it's using our Reyee cloud, our regions based on GCP, just to do some kind of diagnostic of your network. So let's say that something is going wrong. Maybe you have like a low speed on your end. So it's going to check all the egress, the WAN, the DNS parts exception, maybe the session limit exceeded. All these features are going to be checked by our AI. Also, the wire, as you can see here, is checking if the DHCP address pool is not assigned to a VLAN, if we have a switch loop, something that we're going to show or do some kind of physical demonstration today. If we have multiple DHCP servers, maybe a rogue DHCP server that was inserted or connected into our network, if we have IP address conflicts. Talking about the wireless, it's going to check also if we will have like a poor roaming experience, if we will have insufficient coverage in some areas, if we have problems talking or regarding an association. And we can also check on the access point if they are running on a low power mode, if they are rebooting frequently, or if they have like an excessive client load. So at this time, as you see here, it says no abnormality detected. We can also diagnose again, but this is just part of the demonstration for today. Everything is up and running, but this means that as the days go by or as the technology is evolving, you don't need to have back in the days, like we have back in the days, like a highly qualified trained personnel. We can take hand or just do some kind of leverage based on the AI. So this is something really nice to have it in a brand for free, right? So yes, we can run the diagnostics even from our cell phone, from our mobile application, and just resolve something. It's just only giving us a hand just to see what is failing in the backend. If we in case that we will have like some kind of failure on the wire, on the wireless side, on the AP health, or maybe on the WAN side, uh, at the end, it's going to give us an option over there just to fix the problem. It's going to be showing as a fix or maybe handle. So you click on handle or fix, and it's going to do it by by it's going to do it for us already. So yeah, that is something that is really nice, because if you're traveling, some client is calling you, maybe your final customer, something is working bad on site, you can run the air diagnostic from your mobile phone, and it's going to help you in order to solve the problem. Uh, like I said before, in some cases, it's going to do it automatically. It's going to fix that as soon as you click in that options. So just moving forward into the configuration side, um, we have the network. We can configure the multi-one, all the configuration that I showed you on the gateway and that I will show for the switch or for the access point can be located in here from the cloud. We can also create a VLAN for VoIP IP devices. We can create a VLAN for IP management. We have the Wi-Fi optimization that I'm going to explain that later. We have the loom prevention, we have DHCP snooping, flow and app control, ARSP spoofing guard as well. And if we go into the device configuration, we can check here the project password, we can enable the SNMP, we can create ACLs, just talking about the general, the NAT transversal tunnels that are really important these days. Talking about the gateway, we can also create some port forwardings, we can create VPNs, portal authentication, dynamic DNS. I'm going to explain that later, more forward into the training. Also, we can configure the switch from here. We can enable the loop prevention. Well, the loop prevention is enabled by default, but we can do some kind of routing. We can change the mode of the switch, how the switch is working. We can convert the switch into an unmanaged switch, but these are managed switch that support up to 16 VLANs. Tiny switch for 4 or 5 ports supports VLANs and loop prevention and UMPOA extended. This is something that is really nice to have it these days. We can create voice VLANs. We can draw some ports to connect DHCP servers, external DHCP servers. We have some kind of interface protection, quality of service as well. Talking about the wireless, we can create the SSIDs. We can even check the radius, how the transmission is being propagated. We can adjust those parameters, just leave it an auto or just put the parameters to work in fully transmissions. We can also change as well, as you are going to see here. Just give me a second here in radio planning. If I'm working in 2.4 or 5 gigahertz, the roaming sensitivity, the association threshold, something that is really nice if you want to optimize your Wi-Fi coverage and service on site, correct? We can do some AP measurement here. We can even rate limit the traffic of the devices per user. We can do it per SSID. We can do it per access point, and even we can do it per packet. We can restrict broadcast and multicast packets. This is something really nice to have in an SMB brand, correct? Okay, moving forward, we can do some kind of load balancing between the access points. We can create some policies there just to, let's say, okay, I have 4 access points on site, and if more than 15 clients is connected to the first access point, please deliver or hand over, let's say 5 or 4 of those final clients to the second access point. So this works in like an intelligent mesh, correct? And we can also create AP VLANs. We have a site for the AP management as well, if it's being managed by the cloud, or you can also do it from a Reyee Enterprise access controller. We sold some appliance. Those are access controller from the Reyee uh, side. It's our corporate brand. So if you have an access controller, you can control all your wireless access point locally. But in this case, I don't have one, and this is for an SMB scenario. So all the devices are going to be managed by the Reyee cloud. We can also turn off the AP LEDs as well, even the switches as well, and the gateways. We can also manage PoE settings of the devices. And this is something new. We're going to include it in the future. We have some kind of firewalls here. We have firewalls today, and we're going to include it in the future in the future courses or trainings. We're going to explain about the firewall. I think that maybe we have like a separate training for this one, but we are going to have security policies. We're going to have security policy simulations. All the firewalls works with the AI as well. So it's really nice, all the things that we can achieve with our new lines of firewalls. So moving forward, we have the out and out authorization and accounts. So we can create users from here. We can assign roles to the users, and also we can create PPO accounts. We can do here the captive portal really easy. We can also do it from the mobile device. We can even associate radio servers in order to do some validations with Active Directory accounts, by example. Um, Something that worth to mention is the Network Hawkeye. This is in beta at these days, but it works really well. I think that we are close to basically to just put it into the final stage of production, but basically we can check here the Wi-Fi health of all our devices. It's doing some kind of analysis and statistic. You can specify here time frames, and it's going to give you parameters or information regarding the time connect for the devices, it's the successful connect for the devices, the coverage, how many clients do you have. Everything is being displayed here on chart. So it's really nice to have all this kind of information in order to take like let's say management decisions, right? If you are inside, maybe you need to expand your network, or you need to adjust some parameters talking about the Wi-Fi. It's really, really nice. You can also check the wireless load, how much the channels are being used, how much clients are connected to the network. You can also specify time frames, the last 24 hours, 7 days, 30 days. It's really, really nice and pretty convenient to have all this kind of information in order to take like a management decisions in the future, right? And you can also check the channel health because it's scanning um, all of the time how much is the channel being utilized by other devices on the spectrum. So it's really nice to have this from here. We can also do a one health as well. We just see it in the other part that we can do some kind of props for basically what we have all this information as well here. Going to the data board, we can have some kind of network report, how much clients are connected, the rate statistics, which band is being utilized more than the other one, the user ranking by SSID, let's say the top 10 Wi-Fi clients by traffic, or how much is being the captive portal being used. So it's really nice to have this in here. We can also check the vouchers that they're being used. This is most for the captive portal, something that I'm going to explain later. We can also upload floor plans here, layouts, just to have some kind of blueprint being shown there, and we can just assign physically the access points into this layout just to see where are the location of the devices of the network. We also have like a optical monitoring if we will have switches that have XFP ports, something that is really nice because you can have information about the port, the temperatures, the voltage, the TX power, the RX power on the switch. And at the end, we can also have a network overview of all the information, let's say the top relevant information about your whole network in the last 24 hours or the last 7 days. You can even export this report to a PDF. Talking about the logs and alarms, we have a module in here just to check the alarms list, the alarms, uh, the configuration of the alarms, of the switch, of the gateway, if we want it by email, if we want to disable or enable some kind of alarms. And we can also add here recipients, right? Just to receive, let's say, that maybe my manager or the IT manager or maybe the, I don't know, the SOC team needs to have some kind of report. We can assign here the name, we can assign the phone, the email, and it's going to send that email for you and saying, hey, you have an alarm here. Talking about the upgrade log, this is the module where we can follow up how the upgrade of the firmware of the device is being made. We can check what was the status, what is the description, who started or just triggered that upgrade process and the time range. We can also check here the configuration log. All of these logs can be time frame customizable. So it's really nice because you can see here who changed some configuration on a specific device, even the operation logs, what is happening in the back end. So if you have a failure or something is working bad, you can even check it from this side. And the execution log, what is happening on the devices itself. If some device was deleted, onboarded, if some configuration was imported, succeeded, etc. We have a separate upgrade module. I show you from the device module here, but this is like a separate upgrade module, so you can select in here, schedule it, just upgrade it at all. You can even load up custom firmware. So let's say if you have a specific need and you need like a custom firmware, depending on how much devices do you want or you're going to buy, we can form some kind of partnership or alliance. We can create customized firmware versions for you guys. So it's really easy to do it, and we have the option to do it today, right? And finally, the delivery center, we have here the smart detection. Basically, what it's going to do is just to run some kind of checking about all the status and connection. It's another kind of diagnostic. You can view a report in here. If we click here on view report, it's going to generate a report on the graphical user interface here on the Reyee cloud. And this report, you can download it. It's really nice. As you are seeing here, it is the same for the project report, and it's showing us all the devices that we have connected, the serial numbers, the model, the MAC address, the IP. We even have a topology. So this is something really nice because back in the days, you have to open maybe softwares like, I don't know, diagram software. Maybe an example is Visual, really commonly known. And you need to draw all these devices and create this report on a word processor and just insert those graphics. You don't need to do that anymore. It's really nice to see it from this side, and you can even download it, or you can even edit it. You can put your logo in here. You can put your information, contact information. It's fully customizable in here. It's really nice to have these kind of options today. So you can preview it, and even you can download it on a PDF or a Word, maybe a PDF for a final customer, or Word if you need to continue editing or adding more information, custom information from your side. So it's really, really, really cool to see these features up to date. We're going to talk about this project Hanover later. Basically, I'm the owner of the project, but if I sold the project, if I sold the business, if I sell the infrastructure, if I sold the infrastructure, I can hand over the project to a new user. So it's really nice to have all these features as well. I think that I didn't show the client's model, and as you can see here, You can see how many clients do we have online, the type of access is being connected to a 5G, the traffic ranking, if they are connected wireless. Even as you can see here, it's able to detect if I have a tablet, have an iPad, if I have a smartphone, a PC, a camera, the clients that might eventually block list or block in on the network. You're going to see it here, the Wi-Fi experience of the clients, the authentication clients, really important for the captive portal that we're going to see later, or if you're using like a Radius and an Active Directory server, and the smart client, that this is a feature basically for CCTV and IP phones. So it's being able to detect automatically which kind of MPR, DVI, IP camera, or even IP phone is connected into the switch. And we're going to be able to pull some kind of information regarding these devices, like the IP address, the switch, the port, the PoE status, etc. So I think that we just cover most of the things regarding the, just give me a second. Okay, I'm just saying here for the part number 1, and then we can move from the part number 2. We're in the middle of the express train, correct? So just to move forward, before moving forward, we have all the devices that I'm showing you here is the devices that the brand offers today. Remember that I mentioned this is our Reyee line, it's the blue line. We call it internally in that way, the blue line. That's why everything is blue, is the home Wi-Fi and SMB line. And we have layer 3 chassis switches, so you can build a chassis for an infrastructure. We have layer 2 plus switches. Most of the devices with the latest firmware upgrades can be turned on into a managed switch. So they can manage VLANs, they can manage routing, they will have routing capabilities, some kind of span interpretation protocol that we call it here RLDP, Reyee Loop Detection Protocol. They also support LACP, some kind of link aggregation control protocol, but in a static way. We have our all of these devices that you see in here on the screen are fully cloud managed for free. So we also have these cloud managed switches, the EC100 series and the EC200 series, starting for 4 or 5 or 5 ports, and they support up to 16 VLANs. They have the loop prevention. They have the PoE extender if you want to turn on an IP camera further than 100 meters. That is the standard, but you can extend it up to 250 meters. You're going to sacrifice there some kind of the bandwidth to that specific port, but you're going to have all the transmission to the camera. The camera is going to be powered up and can send image in 4K or even 8K depending on the camera. And we also have our line of managed switches, right? Plastic switches. The EC0, they are not managed, but you can onboard it into the cloud and they can alarm you if they go down. So this is pretty convenient mostly for CCTV integrators. Let's say that if you are deploying a camera far away and you have these switches just doing some kind of connection or transmitted traffic, you see the switch goes down, the camera doesn't work, you're going at least be notified by the Reyee cloud that the switch was down. It doesn't manage any kind of VLANs. It's a plastic switch, really with affordable price, really competitive. But at least we have that kind of option, right? Just to see it on the Reyee mobile app saying, hey, this switch was down. We have the Accesspoint interior access points. We have Wi-Fi 7 as well. This all Accesspoint comes in a square and round shape. Some of them comes with a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, so they can manage like a high loads of traffic consumption. We have the wall access points that I mentioned before, that they are pretty convenient for these small offices. You're not going to lose the PoE capability with one single cable. So as you can see here, they have this port, and this port you can connect at the end an endpoint, let's say, in a VoIP phone and can be powered up by the PoE, right? So you will have coverage in your room, in your office, but at the same time, you're going to have connectivity to your VoIP phone. We have a complete line of outdoor access point, UFO forms, and also square forms. These are Wi-Fi 6. They are some of them are IP67 and IP68, so they are going to be protected against rain and all the harsh environment conditions in outdoor. Some of them are outdoors omnidirectional, and some of them are sectorial. Even some of them comes with SFP ports, so you can connect further access point up to 20 kilometers. You just need to figure it out how you're going to power over there, but you can run a fiber optic cable up to 20 kilometers, and you can manage the access point, and it's going to be in the same project. So this is pretty convenient for let's say malls, maybe offshore lines, mines, hardboards, etc. We have a line of wireless bridges. Uh, they goes from 500 meters, 1 kilometer, 5 kilometers. Really, really easy to set up. You don't need to do anything. You just power up these wireless bridges and just onboard the first one, and the connection is being established. So you can transmit any kind of data to here. They were initially designed for CCTV purposes, but these days you can even connect or transmit internet traffic through these wireless bridges. Um, we have a line of industrial access switches, distribution switches as well. They are IP68. They come with a metal chassis. All the ports are being covered with gold, so they are for like these harsh environmental conditions. Let's say high temperatures, low temperatures, uh, fabrics, factories, etc. And they also have PoE capability, so it's really nice to have it these days. We have a series of that we call it MBRs, these ones that are our new business routers. They support from 200 going to 500,000, 1,500, and 2,000 users. So they are fully managed. They have more corporate features than the gateway that I'm showing you today. And we also have our SMB line, right? That support 100 users, 100 users with PoE. This is the model that I'm using today, the EG105GP version 2. But we have all these appliances that we can install on a rack, correct? And we also have the 105GWX, that is the same that I'm using today with wireless capabilities. Pretty convenient for a small business. It can manage up to 180 users. And we have our complete series line of home Wi-Fi. We have routers for houses that they work on 2.4 and 5 gigahertz as well. We have also decos. You can add decos to an existing mesh network. We also have range extenders. Something that I have to mention today is that all our access point manage mesh functions, so you can connect up to 4 or 5 access points in some kind of, let's say, daisy chain topology, but they are going to be meshed, fully wireless. You can establish or you can deploy a network infrastructure based on mesh without any cables. So talking about the home Wi-Fi, if you see here, they have like a tiny button. If you buy another one, you just connect it, power it up, and press the button, and it's going to be joined into your existing network. So this is something that is really nice to have, correct? So talking about the gateway, the first device that we're going to talk today in the part number 2 is going to be the gateways. So I think that I just gave like a brief description, but basically we're going to check all the functions of the gateway, correct? So going back, just 1 second, okay, what is it? Sorry, just 1 second, guys. It's in here, correct, okay. Just going back, we are going to show you the gateway side array. So if we click here on configuration, device config, and interface, we're going to see all the interfaces of the gateway. Remember that we can enable the multi one as well. We can have here the trunk interfaces, the devices interfaces, etc. So, sorry, just going over. I think that, okay. I created here the VLAN 500. That was the VLAN for the guest network. You can also modify here the HCP pool range. You can also convert the LAN 0 into a tron or an access point. You can specify the VLANs in here. We're going to see the things related to the routing. And as you can see here, we can create a static router. We can just put here, I don't know, the destination. Let's say that I'm going to the destination address 10.0.1.0 with the subnet mask /24, 255.255.255.0. And let's say that the next point address is going to be 192.168.110.10, let's say. And the egress interface is going to be the VLAN associated to that subnet. So it's really simple to create static routings. We can also create PBRs in here, policy-based routing. What the policy-based routing does is just to segregate or treat the traffic differently, route the traffic, the requested traffic or the begin traffic, just to treat the traffic and redirect it to, let's say, a specific one or another destination. So you can select here the protocol type, if you're going to just do it for ICMP, TCP, UDP, or even custom, you can specify here the protocol name. But let's say that I'm going just to do it for TCP. I can just put here, let's say a VLAN, the VLAN 500. So I can put here 192.168.244.1. Let's say one just single IP, or I can even put a range as well, say 20. And the destination, well, you can put here the destination IP address and what is going to be the one interface that is going to manage this kind of traffic. So it's really nice because if you have like maybe you are doing some kind of load balancing with your one interfaces, you can do, I don't know, let's say that you need to log in into your bank account and the bank is very picky talking about the source connection, correct? So maybe you need just to get out or to put your bank connection traffic just on the one number two. So you can specify here the one number two and just put here the IP address or of the bank, right? Or the network that you need to reach. So it's really nice because you put it here and all that source requests are going to be redirected through the one number two, not to the one number one. So that is why we call it policy-based routing. Some kind of policy based on the routing, on the source and destination. We can also check here or fill here the PBR, some kind of description and click save. And we can also do some kind of URL routing, more specific. I was talking about IP addresses, but let's talk about the bank case or the bank scenario. You can create custom websites in here. So you can put your URL of your bank here and just select the IP address, which VLAN is going to access the bank, and just put it in here. Or you can also specify some kind of categories, let's say games, and which is going to be the interface. So this is a URL routing. It's doing routing based on the website destination. This effective time for this rule can be the weekends, the weekends, the all times, or all days, or even custom. You could create custom periods in here by day, by week, by start time, end time, and just fill out a description. And as soon as you click save, it's going to be really easy to segregate or categorize the source traffic based on the destination traffic. Okay, moving forward, I'm going to show you the dynamic DNS, something that I mentioned before. Dynamic DNS basically works if you have like a public IP address, but this public IP address, it is not a static, it's a dynamic IP address. If it is a dynamic IP address, you will need to constantly check if the IP address was changed, and you need basically to keep that record in order to access the device or to access the gateway if it is connected on client-side infrastructure remotely. So you don't need to worry anymore about that. This is a, a protocol or a standard basically. You can also use third-party or external DDNS. Thin DNS for sure is a paid option. No AP is a free option, but we provide you with the Reyee DNS with our server. It's free. So you can enable in here, and I'm going to call it like just like this, Epcom VPN. You can select Reyee DNS. I'm going to select Reyee because I'm using Reyee devices. And this time, this is my IP address. It's mapped to the public public IP address, but I can map it into another port, right? If I have 1213, I can map it to it. But I'm just going to tie it up my DNS, my dynamic domain name server, dynamic DNS to my public IP address. So if I click here on save, the record was added, and if I do some kind of NS lookup to that dynamic domain DNS, it's going to say that I have the same IP address, correct? 186.155.210.57. That is my IP address, my public IP address that I have in this time. This is a dynamic IP address. I have a public IP address, but it's some kind of dynamic. So yeah, maybe tomorrow is going to be different, but this module of Reyee is going to take charge of that for us, right? So it's going to update that record. So what I would just need to remember every day or for permanently is our domain, because it's easy to learn words than numbers, correct? So as you see here, it was really easy to do it. And the last part that I'm going to cover basically is the VPN access. So the VPN, we can configure it. Let's just show you how you can do it locally if you don't have the cloud access at the time, or maybe you are running locally. So what you can do is just to do an eWeb to your gateway, an eWeb tunnel. Okay, now I have access to a gateway. And all the configurations that I did on the PBRs, on the static URL, you can achieve it through here. Even the dynamic DDNS, you can do it from here. So talking about the VPN, I'm going to create here, well, for today's purposes, I'm going to create an open VPN tunnel. Basically, you can do site-to-site configurations. Let me show you it here. Just going back to the cloud. You can create site-to-site configurations and client-to-site configuration. These gateways allow to establish a network between several branches. So you can have a headquarters and have branches on the internet, and you can connect those two branches really simple through IPsec, simple. But for today's purposes, I'm going to demonstrate the client-to-site. That is the other side of the VPN, the other kind of configuration. That basically it was really popular during the pandemic, right? Because everybody was locked down and most of the people were doing some kind of working from home and telecommuting. So yes, everybody was assigned these days with some kind of certificates or account and a VPN client in order to be connected back to the headquarters and just work, right? Just access the system, servers, files, printer, etc. So yes, for site to site is if you have some kind of infrastructure that, I don't know, it's a restaurant and they have the corporate officers, but they have like 5 branches, 5 restaurants in the city. So you can create site to site VPNs among of them or between them. So all the access from these restaurants is going to be reached from the headquarters or vice versa. But we're going to go, since I don't have any other gateway here and I'm going to establish like 2 branches, we're going to do the demonstration for the other case that was really popular during the pandemic. It was the client-side VPN. So that allows us, if I'm traveling and I need to print something at home, I can connect to the print, I can connect to the VPN, my VPN in my home, and just print. Other thing that we can do is just to let's say access a server, network attached storage, etc. Whatever you have, even cameras and VR, you can achieve it because you are going to be connected to the virtual private network. And it's going to be like if you are in home, but you are, I don't know, in another continent, in another city, in another country, etc. So I'm going to click here on enable. In the server mode, it comes in 3 flavors, basically. You can access the VPN or establish a session with an account. You can do it with a certificate, so you don't need to remember like a login and password for that. Or you can also mix those two. You can use certificates and you can also use a login and password. But for today's purposes, I'm going just to use an account. The protocol for OpenVPN is UDP. And the server IP address is going to be my dynamic domain names that we just created, right? That is tied up to my public IP address. The default port for this protocol is 1194. It's going to assign me a range from the subnet. That is something that is default, but you can even change it. But it's going to be for today's purposes 10.80.12.0/24. I will receive an IP address from that segment, and the deliver route is going to be the default route, the VLAN number 1. That is my internal network here. That is the default network for the Reyee devices. Is the 192.168.110.0/24. But I can create another one. What happens if I want to access the VLAN 500, the guest VLAN? I can also put the subnet in there, 192.168.244.1/255.255.0. So it's going to work, right? As soon as I am connected, I can ping devices or can I access devices that will be connected on the let's say on the guest network. So I'm just going to delete this part because I'm just need to access just for the VLAN number 1. I'm not going to use TLS authentication today, but I can use it. I'm not going to use any kind of compression, but we can use it so we can save some kind of bandwidth on our internet connection. This is something that is really important to and it's worth to mention today. And it's if you want to route all your traffic or your VPN, you have here 2 options, yes or no, basically. If you are connected and you assign here, as soon as you are connected, all your traffic is going to pass or traverse your gateway, right? Before accessing the internet. But if you click no here, you are only going to use the VPN tunnel just to access the internal resources on your network. If you want to check your Gmail account, your Hotmail account, if you want to access an Instagram or something like that, that traffic is going to be derived to your existing one connection where you are located, right? So I'm going to click here on no. We're going to use the cipher, but we have a bunch grid or let's say options talking about cipher, or we can just leave it in auto. I'm not going to deliver a DNS. We're just stick to the DNS that was assigned by the client, and I will click here on save. And it's really easy. There was the server side, right? So in order to be connected from another computer, right, the VPN client that we need, I just recommend you just to download the client lead from here, directly from this link on the gateway. As soon as you click here, it's going to give you some option, right, for a client for Windows, for Mac OS, for Android. I just haven't installed it for Windows, my Windows version. And what I'm going to do here is just to export the certificates. Okay, just 1 second. Okay, now I did it. So yes, I have here the certificates. Sorry, the keys and the client configuration. So what I'm going to do is, as soon as I receive this compressed file, I will decompress it and just copy these files, and I'm going to install it on a specific route that most of the time is this one. Are you seeing here? This is my client, my OpenVPN client. I'm clicking here on settings. And if you go to advanced on configuration files, uh, that is where I need to place those files that I just downloaded here. So it's saying me that is in this path, users, PC appcom, OpenVPN config. So let's go there. User, PC appcom, OpenVPN config, and I'm going to place those files. I will have 16 files, but I just have it here. If you check the client.opvpn file, you're going to see that the remote connection is through the port 1194 and is pointing into our dynamic domain name system. So it will work. Okay, we have all of this configured, right? So before we connect to the VPN, what we need to do is just to create a VPN account, really important, because we set up the configuration in that way, just using not certificate, just using accounts. So I will click here on all, and I will select here OVPN, and I will create, I don't know, let's just say username test and the same password that we been used all this training. So the status is going to be enabled. The service type is OpenVPN, but you can select as well PPTP for Windows, HTTP, IPsec, etc. One second, me just going back into the gateway as well. It's opening. Let's check if the user was created. Okay, was not created. Let's just leave it on all. And what I'm going to do is just to specify that this is the PC to the router and not router to router, because remember, we can establish like an open VPN connection between two branches. Just to PC to router, click OK. Okay, now was created. So in order to demonstrate that we can access, what we're going to do is just to connect, and we're going to access, let's say, to this access point, 192.168.110.3. I am connected to another network. In fact, I can transmit this broadcast or broadcast this transmission, this webinar, just using my second ISP that I have here. But if I want to access to a specific project, I can use my OpenVPN. And what I'm going to do is just to get into this internal IP address of the management of this RAP 1261. So I just click here on connect. It will ask me for a username, and just put here test, and I will put here my password. Okay, one second. Okay, just one second. I think that I need to change something on the cipher. Let's leave it here to auto, save. And when going to export again the certificates, okay, copy. We're going to replace the new ones with the newer configuration on the server. Okay, there we go. We are now connected because we're seeing the screen, the icon here in green. So as you can see here, I was assigned one IP address of that segment that we just specified here, 10.80.12.0/24, and receiving the 10.80.12.2. And if I want just to access to the access point, let's say that I have a printer connected in the same segment, subnet segment 192.168.100.100, that could be a network attached storage, web server, MBR, IP camera, even a printer. So I can access it right now because I'm connected into an internet network. So if I click here on 192.168.110.3, I will be able to access on the local configuration of the access point. So it's really simple to do it. You can achieve this to your clients. Hey, you are a person that travels a lot and you need to be connected and access the invoices on the, I don't know, ERP or invoice systems or CRM that you have in your company, or maybe you are traveling, you need to check your MBR and see the cameras. You can provide like a VPN access to your clients. Just really simple with these certificates, or even just simpler using PPTP, that is something integrated to the Windows by default, or even using M2TP over IPsec, that is a more complex configuration. But as soon as you create a VPN account and you can deploy this, your clients or the persons or the people who are going to have access in their internal networks over the internet. So it's really nice because you don't need a firewall, you don't need like a corporate appliance in order to install it there. Something that we can achieve today with our SMB and home Wi-Fi plan. So I'm going to disconnect from the VPN. Okay, we're connected, and I'm going to close here the tunnel, our eWeb tunnel to the gateway. We are not going to need it by the moment. And just going back to the presentation, let's talk about the switch. Let's move forward into the switch. Basically, I just gave the description as well, where we have the chassis layer 3 switches, the layer 2 plus switches that some of them with the firmware update, they are going to be converted into a layer 3 switches, and we have our managed plastic switches and our cloud managed switches that are chassis metal, and they come with PoE capabilities, loop prevention, etc. So today we're going to talk about the port and interfaces. We're going to display the long distance transmission, the VLAN creation, what is the RLDP, and the DHCP snooping. So for this, I'm going to open up my, just give me a second. Okay, using my iPad here. And I'm just going to show you how is the back part or what is being made of. I think that let me just put the camera of this thing and yes, you are seeing him. So this is my backpack, right? What we're working on this morning. So I have here the 1261. This is my wall access point with the power over written port for the VoIP phones. If you want to connect it on an office, it's going to provide you like a wireless capabilities on that area. I have the RAP 2260, that is a ceiling access point for indoor. This is the switch, and I have here my gateway. This is the 105, and this is the connections that I'm being using today. So let's just go into the LLDP. Basically, what we're going to do is just to cause on purpose a loop. So what I'm going to do is just to see or just to demonstrate that the entire setup is not going to crash, right? Because if we form a loop on a switch or between two switches, all the network is going to be back down. So I'm going just to form a loop here. This is a patch cord, a tiny patch cord, but I'm just going to connect it in here. And as you can see there, nothing happened, right? Everything is working and just connected and doing the transmission. And even as you're seeing here, there is one light blinking in there. It's just that to specify that the switch it was capable to manage that loop. So it's really nice because if we go into the application and we go back here to just 1 second, devices. First, if we will go back here to the first screen of the application, we're going to see here an alarm. And it's saying, hey, a loop occurs on the interface port number 4, and the suggestion is to please check the cable connection to fix the loop. But this was achieved because basically the RDPL function, it is enabled on the switch. If we go here and we see here loop prevention, it is enabled. If I disable this, I'm going to crash the network because it's still connected. So I'm just going to, 1 second. I'm just going to remove the cable just to not cause a loop. And if we will go back here, there is no more alarms in there because the loop was just fixed, right? But we can also create VLANs in here. We can also perform cable tests for ports. That is what I just wanted to show you guys today, that we can also check, do some kind of physical diagnostic to each port. Let's say port number 1, port number 2, if something is failing on the cable. We have the long distance transmission. We noticed that in other brands, if you enable this, it's enabled for all the switches, but not. Here you can enable just selecting a range of port or just maybe one. And as soon as you click save, the port is going to be enabled with that feature, that capability. And basically what it's doing is just to extend the transmission of the power delivery up to 250 meters away. So you can power up a camera really, really, really far. So it's really nice. All the things that we can see here, talking about the monitor, the VLAN creation, we can also check here or enable a PoE watchdog. It's really, really nice to have all these features from the interface. So you are seeing that we are just doing configurations from the Reyee cloud and also from the mobile application. So all the features, you can find it between those two options. So if we go back here, just 1 second, to the, okay, to the Reyee cloud, we're going to see here that we have also the loop prevention in here that is enabled by default. We can see here things related to the routing. Well, it's not supported by this model, but we can also change the mode of the switch here on VLAN. Just remember that I mentioned that to you guys that we can convert the switch into a managed or unmanaged switch. We can set it up. We can create VLANs in here. And we also have the DHCP snooping. So it's really nice to have it in here because if we have, let's say, external DHCP connected into the network, we can trust a port, right? Let's say that we haven't enabled a DHCP in our VLANs because the DHCP is being managed in an external server, let's say a Linux or another router or a Windows server. So that server is connected into a port number 4. Well, I can click here on port number 4, just click on save, and it's going to trust that port. This means that if somebody, for a mistake, goes into your infrastructure, onto your site, your company, and connects another router from another brand or a home Wi-Fi router, it's not going to bring all the network down, right? Because if it is connected in a port that is not trusted, DHCP server or DHCP traffic is not going to be transmitted by that port. So it's something that is pretty convenient because it allows us to have the capability to just trust the ports that we need to assign physically over there and say, okay, I have more than one DHCP server, one for one VLAN and another for another VLAN. So I will connect it on port number 10 or port number 24, and you trust that port, and that is the only port that is going to transmit the DHCP traffic regarding offers from the HCP server. So it's really nice to have this in here. We can also create voice VLANs as well. We can also treat some kind of quality of service, well, in our line of switches, and mostly on the MBS that are our new business switch. But for this tiny switch, it's really nice to have the DHCP snooping, the loop prevention. We can also have the routing, and we can even create VLANs, right? I will put here set or manage VLAN, and I can create a new VLAN in here. I just created a VLAN 500, but I can create the VLAN 600 and just put here new VLAN, and just click here on save. And it's really nice. It's really nice to have all of these things working together, right? So let's just roll back because we were not using that mode. So I will put it here on the manage set. Okay, there we go. So we have it in here. 1 second, just check. Okay, there we go. Just moving forward, I think that we, just 1 second. Okay, we just talked about the port and the interfaces, the long distance transmission up to 250 meters, the VLAN creation that you can turn your switch into a managed switch. The RDLDP protocol basically was the loop prevention. So we did the demonstration in there. It's enabled by default in all switches, so you don't need to worry about it. As soon as you get it open, or you open your box and you do unboxing and just connect your switches over there. Every line of switches, a series of switches, they come with this enable, so you can connect two switches. Nothing bad is going to happen if you connect a second cable between two switches, because the RLDP, the Reyee loop detection protocol, is going to take charge of that for you. And we also mentioned the HCP snooping. So let's move forward to the access point. Like I mentioned before on the first on that image of the portfolio, we have wall access point. Those are these ones. We have the indoor access point, all of our CVNs, even Wi-Fi 7, and we have exterior access point, the square and the UFO forms. So today we're going to talk about the wireless interface optimization, the roaming, how to create an SSID. Just create it, but we can create it manually. We use some kind of wizard assistant in the first part. We can also talk about the radio limit and radio planning and mesh. Okay, and just going back. Okay, let's move back. So let's talk about the Wi-Fi optimization. Let's start with that. Well, Wi-Fi optimization is really nice because every day the spectrum is changing, right? So maybe you are living on a building of 10 floors and 4 apartments per floor. So that soon up something like 40 apartments on the whole building on the 10th floors, and they are moving, right? They are there. You have every day more new neighbors, so they are connecting their wireless devices. So basically, they are polluting the radio electron spectrum, correct? So back in the days, in the old days, what you do first was just to do some kind of analysis on the spectrum and just check there, okay, if there was some kind of interference, which channel was free, etc. So you customize your network to work on those parameters, talking about RF channels, powers, transmission, etc., channel width, etc. So as soon as, or as the days go by, since the spectrum is changing every day because we're using the air and every day is more polluted, we will need to figure out how we can optimize your entire network for the all access point that were transmitted. So we came with this intelligent solution, that is the wireless intelligent optimization. This module, what it does is just to run a scan of the spectrum, and it's going to adjust all the parameters talking about RF, um, and just adjust them in an optimized way. So everything is going to work fine. So we have here's two flavors, basically, the quick optimization and the deep optimization. If you see here, the deep optimization takes 120 seconds more, 2 minutes more, but it's going to take some time, and it's going to scan all the spectrum, is going to determine which are the optimized parameters in order to deploy it to your whole cluster of Swan or the access point, and everything is going to work well. So this is something that you can schedule in advance, something that you can, I don't know, let's say run that every morning, every Sunday morning at 3 a.m. when nobody's connected or is working on internet. You can run it weekly or just one time, and you can decide if you want to run the quick or the deep optimization. Even if you go into the advanced settings, you can here change the scan time. If you add more seconds to the scan time, it's going to take better decisions for you in order to optimize. It's going to, you can change here, or you can decide if you want to optimize the 6 gigahertz band. You can optimize the roaming sensitivity, the transmission power, etc. So yeah, it's really cool. You even enable here the IGMP snooping. Uh, all of these things can be achieved from this model. I'm not going to run it because it's going to take a lot of time. But basically, at the end of that run, is going to say, "Hey, everything works well," or maybe I move from this channel to another channel because it was free, or I change the channel width. So yeah, it's really nice to have it. The other thing that I'm going just to show you is the AI roaming. Um, this was this principle based on the telecommunication back in the days, the cell phone telecommunication. If you were traveling on a car from a city to another one, and you were talking by your cell phone, you don't lose any kind of transmission, right? The transmission is not, it wasn't disrupted because you moved from one radio base to another radio base. What that principle was brought back here into the wireless since long time ago. Um, we have layer 2 and layer 3 switch. By default, layer 2 is enabled. Layer 3, we use it, or we enable it, the layer 3, when we have like a several VLANs, or we have too much clients connected and we have some kind of a VLAN segmentation, and you need to run, let's say the VLAN number 1 is tied up to the first floor of the company and the VLAN number 2 is tied up to the second floor of the company. If you are talking on your phone and maybe you go upstairs, you are not going to lose any kind of connectivity. The call is not going to be disrupted, basically because we enable the layer 2 roaming in this access point and this infrastructure. Our vendor, where brand supports the layer 2 roaming. But by default, layer 2 roaming works well and is enabled by default. But we go further, we go one step further, and basically we involve the AI these days. So everything is AI these days, and it's really nice because what the AI model does is just to, as soon as we enable it in here, what it does is just to analyze all the traffic or your devices as the days go by. So it's going to be able to determine when is going to be the effective or the optimized time to run one device from one access point on the cluster to the second access point on the cluster. It's going to take these analytics, these metrics, even KPIs, in order to say, hey, this is the same iPhone that is being coming here to this coffee shop every day at 8 a.m. And I have that track of this or this fingerprint or this device, and I'm going just to run it to the second access point as soon as they traverse or they just go around the corner of an internal wall in that coffee shop. So this is something that is really nice. We can achieve this just to the cloud computing power and the Reyee cloud, and it's really cool because maybe you're not going to see a significant changes in the first step, right? But as soon as you do it, through as the days go by, you're going to notice that the coverage and the transmissions were optimized and everything is working well. So it's really nice to have this thing in here. The other thing is that I'm going to show you today is the SSID creation. Basically, we just use the wizard here and a smart config that I just mentioned, that this is the smart way just to do it, just to create VLANs and SSIDs and just do it in one single click, right, guys? Just to click it here and it's going to take care of all the VLAN creation, port assignment, port tagging, etc. But if I need to clear and if I need to do it in the old way, I can create here the SSIDs on wireless, and I can create like I don't know, a third. Let's put it here, third SSID. So I can just leave it in here, not encrypt, etc. Leave it in open. I can use the VLAN number one. Okay, I can assign another VLAN. The Wi-Fi mode, we can use Wi-Fi 7 or we can use Wi-Fi 6, so just to do it in a compatibility mode. I'm just leaving in auto. We can do layer 2 isolation. We can hit the SSID if we wanted. We can assign a speed limit per SSID, etc. So I will click just here, OK. And I just created a third VLAN that is going to be tied to the VLAN number one, but this is open. This is just for demo purposes, right? Another thing that is really nice is just to show you the radio. I think that I showed you before, all the things related to the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz radio. I'm here just using United States today, but I can change here the channel width of the 2.4 band, or maybe I can change it for the 5 gigahertz band in order to transmit more data. I can rate a client limit here. I can put a limit to say to specify here, hey, in this SSID, I don't want more than 50 users connected at the same time. I can enable DFS. Basically, this is for radar. If you're living near an airport, it's not going to mess up with the radar transmission. It's not that you're, let's say that you are going to affect the radar transmission of the airport, but that radar transmission is going to affect yours in your home. So you can enable DFS, you can customize, or you can select the offline threshold, some kind of kick out, basically, right? We can enable a scheduled shutdown of the SSIDs, really, or basically not SSID, the radio frequency. If we do one, if we have an office and we have some kind of captive portal, but we are closed on weekends, and we don't want anybody nearby just to access the captive portal and use our internet connection for free, we can schedule the radio shutdown. So it's going to shut down the radio at the end of the Friday, and it's going to re-enable the next Monday, right? So in that weekend, the radio is going to be off. Nobody is going to take advantage of your Wi-Fi connection, just for security purposes as well. And we move forward with the radio planning. Basically, the radio planning, what I was showed you before, and is about the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz connection, and it's the way that you can select the channel. So just leave it in auto, adjust the power transmission, the roaming sensitivity, how much power do we need to apply to the roaming process, right? The sensitivity, if it's further than 40%, 80%, is going to roam the device automatically. The association threshold, let's say that if it's less than, or sorry, more than minus 85 dBm, is going to kick out the device, forcing that device to reconnect it to join the network through other access point of the swarm. Then we can also change the response threshold as well, basically. It's something, it's a measure to see, hey, if the signal is not better to this device, it's not between minus 85 or minus 60 dBm, please don't connect the device. As you can see here, it's the same configuration, or it's the same size for the 5 gigahertz band. So this is something really nice to have it in here in this tiny brand, sorry, in this tiny setup for the SMB brand and the home Wi-Fi. And the other thing is the AP mesh. Basically, the AP mesh, what it's going to do is just to create a mesh so you can scan device in here. If there are nearby devices, they are going to be displayed on this tab, right? So you can select it in there. As soon as they are displayed in here, just select the device and just click join, and it will join the new device into your network and replicate all the configurations of your swarm. So this is really cool to have it, right? Because maybe you don't have like a cable to the second or the third floor, so you can create like a mesh network. In order to this model to work correctly, you will need to have all your access point and your infrastructure in the later version, and that access point, the new access point, needs to be, needs to be in a factory default settings. If you remove an access point from another infrastructure and you want to join it in another site and another location, you just need to do a factory first, upgrade it, and then do a factory default before run this scan and join it successfully into the network. So I will click cancel here because it's going to take more time, and I don't have another access point with a default configuration in order to join it. But it's really simple. As soon as it's being displayed here, you just click on a tick box and just join, and we'll replicate the configuration and onboard it in there. So we just discussed the wireless intelligent optimization, the roaming, layer 2, layer 3, the SSID creations, the radio limit, radio planning, and the mesh key features. So let's move into the part number 3. This is our final part, and this is related to the captive portal, the application blocking and flow control, project sharing, and net transversal. So it's really nice to see how we're going to achieve this kind of complex deployments through our mobile application or even the Reyee cloud application. So in order to do this, I will create some kind of captive portal. It's going to be really easy. We click here on captive portal, say that I'm going to create this first one, and I'm going to call it just captive portal. So the policy mode, we have 3 modes: local, cloud authentication, that is what we're going to use today, the cloud authentication, and external if you were using a third-party captive portal solution. But we're going to use just the Reyee one today. So I don't know if you are seeing my screen. Just give me 1 second, because I think that it's not being displayed. Okay. Just 1 second, guys. Okay. We're saying, I think that you were not saying. If we can do a recap. So in order to access to the captive portal, we just click here on auth and accounts, and then click here on captive portal, and I will add a new captive portal, correct? So add a captive portal in here, and we're going to create it here, captive portal. So like I mentioned before, we have the 3 policy modes: the cloud authentication, the local, and the external. We're going to use the cloud authentication. The authentication device of this is going to be our Reyee gateway. If we didn't have it, the Reyee gateway in our setup, the AP is going to be, or will be, the authentication device. We're going to select here the guest network because we're going to use it for the guest network. And we're going to click here for how much is going to be valid this thing, right? Just for 1 day. And we're going to create a portal page. So you don't need like a coding skills and all that stuff in the past that you needed. It comes with a template. We can use 1 click in order to log in into the device or to log in into a captive portal. We can specify here the access duration. Let's say unlimited, but you can specify 50 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, or even a custom time in minutes. We can use vouchers. We can use an account. If you have a personnel on site, you have like a nominee or maybe 10 employees, you can assign a 10 accounts, each for one person in the company. You can use SMS. We achieve this through Twilio, let's say. That is a third-party application that maybe you need to pay, or maybe not you need to pay in order to get that integration, but you're going to be able just to receive the code through an SMS message. And we also have the registration. It's really cool because you can then consult the data on a portal in there just to check if the person was connected with and leave the phone number or the contact information and the email address, etc. So you can have some kind of statistics and run some kind of analytics later, right? Based on the even you can have like a custom field. I can put here like a blood type and just require it on the register page or just showing into the login page. So it's really nice because you have that kind of capabilities, correct? I would use today no one click, just voucher. I just want to demonstrate that. And we're going, as soon as the person is connected, we're going to redirect that person to the epcom.net website. You can change the logo. You can select between some default background image that we have, but you can also select a background image. You can preview how it's going to be shown in mobile and desktop versions. And you can even change the color, put messages. You can do some kind of advertisement. You can upload a video. You can upload a picture, 1 to 3 pictures, the duration time. You can select if the user can skip this advertisement. We're not going to do it today, but it's really nice because I can put that advertisement today, change message, the buttons colors, the text size, the logo, etc. So basically, we're going to leave it in this way. Okay, you just created the page, and remember that is tied up to the VLAN 500 that is our guest network. We configured our guest network with password. So we need to remove that password because captive portals, most of them are in an open way. So we click here on OK. Everything is safe. Let's just remove the password for the guest SSID. That was the first one. Here, done encrypt. Okay, we don't have any authentication. And I'm going to demonstrate, or I'm going to show you how the captive portal works. So, okay, just going back to my iPad. Okay, I will click here just to forget this demo epcom guest. Okay, I will click here on join this network. Okay, just 1 second. Demo epcom guest. Okay, yeah, because it was added. We were using this guest Wi-Fi before. Okay, it's loading. So I need to put there a voucher code before we put it, because we haven't created. That's the other part of this of the configuration, is just to create just going here into auth and accounts, user management, and just create a voucher. In order to create a voucher, we first need to create a user group. So we're going to create a user group here. Just call it captive group. We're not going to assign any price for the connection. We're going to allow to connect, let's say, 2 concurrent devices. Just one voucher is going to work for 2 devices per people. We're not going to specify a period, or it's going to be unlimited, but let's say that we're going to specify that this person is going just to use 2 gigabits per day, correct? So we can also specify the upload rate, talking about the bandwidth. So let's say that maximum upload rate is going to be 5 megabits per second, but the download rate we're going to assign it to 10 megabits per second. And we're going to assign this to the VLAN 500, that is the guess. Okay, correct. And then we can create the vouchers. So we're going to create the vouchers. Let's say that we're going to create 5, and the user group is going to be the one that just created that, right? The captive group. You can even put here user the information, the first name, last name, email, phone number for each voucher that is being generated, and we're going to leave it in this way. Alphanumeric is going to use 0 to 9, A to C is going to generate like a random vouchers, and the length is going to be just six characters. So let's click here on OK. Okay, it created 6 characters, sorry, 5 vouchers in here. So going back, since I'm here on the, it's asking me for a voucher code. I'm going to use the first one, that is going to be 2, F as in Foxtrot, 6, J as in Juliet, B as in Victor, and B as in Bravo. And I will click login here. And there we go. It was redirected to the page that we assigned before, and we are now connected. We can even run some speed tests from here. So I will have full connectivity. And as you see here, the traffic remit or the traffic shaping is working, right? We assign 10 megabits per download to these voucher groups and 5 megabits just to upload things. So you can save some kind of bandwidth in your environment, right? So it's really nice to have these things today. So just going back here to the part number 3, we're going to talk about the application blocking and flow control. So let's going back to the cloud, and we're going to create some kind of block control and flow control. So what we're going to do is that, what happens if you are connected to the captive portal, right? But this is like a company. Maybe you are using this app. Before we go into that, if we check here, we would see that the status of the fifth voucher code just changed from not used to in use. So you can see that somebody is connected there, when the voucher was created, etc. So even you can check the traffic use and the total. We even assigned 2 gigabytes of traffic consumption for just one day, and we have used 21 megs. Just moving forward into the blocking and flow control. Basically, what we're going to do is just to block the traffic for certain applications or certain URLs or websites. So this is pretty convenient, because if you have an infrastructure and a company, and everybody's connected to or somebody or some clients are connected to the web, to the captive portal or to the internet via the captive portal that we just created, maybe you want just to block the, I don't know, the social media access, right? Well, all the people is working here, so we are going to allow just the social media access on weekends, or we're not going to allow it at all, right? Nobody's going to be able to access Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, etc. So the first thing in order to achieve this is just to create the flow control. So we enable the smart flow control. And what we put in here is just to define the one speed limit that we have, because it's going to work along with this. So let's say that I have a connection of, I don't know, 800 megs. And it's a symmetric connection, or maybe it's not symmetric connection, asymmetric connection. So I'm going just to say here, okay, sorry, my downlink is 800, my uplink is 500 megabits. So I click saving here. So it was edited, and then we go into the app Okay. Yeah, it updated. Okay. So we go now into the app and website control. So what we're going to do is just to see, okay, for the guest VLAN that is associated to the captive portal, what we're going to do is just to block TikTok, for example. So I call here TikTok, and it says that is under entertainment, under the video category, and here's TikTok. This is a list that is constantly updated by the brand. So since we are using cloud computer, everything is updated and fully available 24/7 with redundancy. So yes, it's really nice to have it in here. So if in the days of tomorrow it comes another social media or a new app or a new website, we can select it from this list. So we're going to block as well Facebook, and let's say that we're going to block Instagram. We can block Twitter as well, so many applications. But we are blocking application. What if we want to block something about gaming? We can block Steam game, we can block battle game traffic, etc. If we want just to block, I don't know, online shopping, Amazon, eBay, Best Buy, etc., we can block those URLs, or those applications. But we can also create custom websites just to block it. The bank, I don't know, government, FBI, I don't know, whatever you want to do. We can create custom group apps as well. But for this time, we're going just to block the TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram applications. What is going to be the effective time for this policy is going to be all time, but we can assign it just on weekends, or we can assign it on weekdays. But I'm going just to put here on all time, or we can even customize a video like we did before with the PVR. But I'm going just to say all time. I don't want anybody not even to access this application on the social media, not even in weekends if they are resting or working in the company. So I click here on OK. Sorry, we need to put here an alias for this policy. So I'm going to put here block media network. The status is going to be enabled, so we can block it. Okay, there we go. So what are we seeing here is basically that we created this policy that we call it block media network. All the clients in the captive portal, that is our guest portal, are not going to be able to access TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram. So let's see if that is true. So if we go back to our iPad, I have installed here the applications. And let's say that if I want to click here on TikTok, it's trying to load in, but at the end it says no internet connection. But if I try to, I don't know, to access another application, Airbnb, okay, it's loading. Just 1 second, let's try with other one. Okay, here we go. This is from an airline. Let's try to use another one, Steam. I haven't blocked Steam, but it's working. But if we try to use, by example, Facebook, it should be blocked. Where I don't have like a Facebook account, but let's say here that I will need help and I just want to forget the password, and even it's saying that the site cannot be reached from the browser, right? So the policy is working even on Instagram. If I want to log in here, but I have problems, forgot our password, and I click here, can't reset our password, it's going to be stuck in there because there is no connection. The flow traffic and the application blocking is working because it's in place. The rule is in place, the policy is in place, and it's working. This is something really cool because you can block websites, you can block categories, you can block even full categories or just granulated applications or websites or custom group application that you define over there. The other thing is just to do the handover of the project, the sharing. Let's just move it here to our home tab. And we created at the beginning of this training the demo project. What happened if I want just to share it? Well, I just click here on this icon just to share, and I can share the project in a read and write fashion, or even in read only. So I can share it to some person that only can see the configuration, but it cannot change anything. But let's say that we want to provide support, right? Or to hand over, to delegate the support to a technician or something like that, an engineer. Well, we can just enable the read and write option, just select the validity, permanent, just 1 day, 1 week, or even custom. I've been assigned projects from clients that just give me access of a couple of hours, so they can put it in here from one, just in the same day, and just a couple of hours. So as soon as I click here, it provides me with a link. So what I will need to do after this is just copy the link, paste it on an email, send it through WhatsApp, to iMessage, etc. So through some communication, even on an email or a chat, and just to share this. As soon as the person copy and paste it on the web, on the browser, and logins with their Reyee Cloud account, they are going to be able to manage the project, and the project is going to be here on receipts, as I'm seeing here, these two projects that I currently have. Other thing is just to hand over the project. Like I mentioned before, I'm not the owner anymore of this infrastructure, so I just want to hand over this project to another person or to another company, because I sold the company, I sold the store, I sold the coffee shop, everything is working, but I'm not going to be the owner, the manager of that project anymore. So I just can deliver that to another tenant. I can select here the account, and there you go. The account is going to receive the new project. You're not going to have any more management of that existing project. And for the last thing that we're going to mention today is just to the NAT transversal. We're going to explain about the NAT transversal. Like I mentioned before, the NAT transversal basically, like it says here, allows an external network to access an internal network. So if I have a camera, an NVR, a printer, a web server, and I don't know the public, or I don't have like a public IP address, even having a private IP address, I can do that kind of remote connection. Remember that in order to access to a VPN, you need a public IP address. But if you don't have it, Reyee provides the capability to establish the connection between the internal organization and you, that you can be, I don't know, in another country, region, in another continent, traveling in another location, even in the same city. So what we're going to do is just to create a tunnel. We can put here, I don't know, NVR. Let's suppose that you have an NVR at your home, and you just need to check the camera's traffic just to see the streaming of the camera, surveillance systems, etc. And let's say that the host of that NVR is this IP address, because you already configured or you assign it dynamically in the DHCP. So you assigned the 192.168.110.50 to the NVR. And the port is going to be, I don't know, HTTP. Let's use the port number 80. So it's going to be HTTP, right? Port number 80. So as soon as I click here on OK and check that, if I move, I can select between RDP, SSH, I can even telnet something. But the port, you just can change it, and just the port that you need. For this case, this is just some kind of template. I'm going to use HTTP for the port number 80. And if I click here on OK, it's going to create this configuration. So basically it's saying, okay, the application time is going to be HTTP. We're going to use port 80. And the inside host port is going to be 192.168.110.15, that it's supposedly to be our NVR. And our NVR is running their graphical user interface, or their website interface, the management interface, with the port 80. We're going to use HTTP. So we just click here and create the tunnel. It's going to create the tunnel, some kind of reverse connection. And there you go. As soon as you click open here, it's going to open a new tab. It's not going to work because we don't have basically any NVR connected here. But if you notice over here, again, it says that the tunnel will expire in 3 hours, basically, but it's saying it added just this new field, right? That it says outside host port. It allows us to access our device over the internet with a public IP address that don't belong to us. This belongs to Reyee, but it says 18.153.34.21 in this ephemeral port. So as soon as I copy here this in a newer tab on a browser, it is supposedly to open the MBR. And we have tested, we accessed web servers, we have access MBRs, printed, etc. I don't have a printer in here, so the connection is not going to be established because this IP address is, I don't have anything with the 110.50 running on the port 80, but you can configure this. You can leave it in there, and for security purpose, it's always recommended just to disable this tunnel, but you can run this from the mobile application. So let's say that if you are traveling, you take a flight and you go to another city and you need to check your cameras, right? As soon as you get internet connection, you can log in into your mobile application or just open up your laptop and log in into the Reyee cloud and just enable the tunnel. You don't need to recreate it or configure it. Just enable the tunnel. It's going to create the tunnel, temporary tunnel for a validity of 3 hours. That is the period time, the void time, and you can just open it and just access the internet. It doesn't matter if you don't know the IP address of your internal network. It doesn't matter if you don't have like a public IP address. You're using like a private segment because it's connected to a network that is shared with your neighbor, I don't know, with another company or etc. So that is the main purpose of the NAT trouble, basically, of the NAT transversal tunnel. So we have covered the captive portal. We saw how easy it is to limit the rate, limit the applications, establishing a flow control. We just saw how to share a project, and we just saw everything related to the NAT transversal creation. So thank you very much for your time today. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. I'm Vladimir Ortega, pre-post sales engineer. Here's my email. You can always check it. And this presentation is going to be uploaded to our EdCom channel in YouTube, so you can revisit the configurations as well. And it was a pleasure for me. We're here at EdCom. We have like a dedicated and a professional engineering team, so we can help you with recommendations and advice, and we can provide you the equipment as well in order to achieve great success talking about projects deployment and infrastructure creation, right? So yeah, here's my email. Thank you very much. And I don't think that what we're seeing, we don't have any questions at this time. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me to teach this webinar today. Have a nice day. Bye. Take care.